Welcome to Direct Approach, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by Wayne Moorhead, filled with timely insights, fresh perspectives, and actionable takeaways from your direct selling executive peers to help fuel the growth and evolution of your business. For Daniel Picou, co-founder and CEO of 3 International, the decision to launch his own direct selling company wasn't just a business move. It was a commitment to his core beliefs in personal development, community, and improving lives. With a leadership style that blends ambition and empathy, Daniel emphasizes the importance of open communication, cultural sensitivity, and collaboration in building a thriving global enterprise. Learn how these values, combined with his willingness to take risks, have propelled him to the forefront of the industry. But before we begin, we'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, iPayout. Does your growing direct sales organization need a more powerful payments platform? iPayout is your ultimate partner, offering tailored solutions for seamless global payouts and efficient management. With support for over 180 currencies and an all-encompassing global tax suite, iPayout ensures transparency and control on a single, robust platform. Streamline your payouts by offering more options to your sellers, empowering your business to thrive on a global stage. Choose iPayout, where innovation meets efficiency. Now let's welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and his guest, Daniel Picou.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today's guest is a very inspiring entrepreneur and operator who's had great success both inside and outside the channel, and recently, last February, launched a company which is already hitting impressive milestones and numbers. I'm excited to welcome and fortunate to call him a friend, Daniel Picou, co-founder and CEO of 3 International. Daniel, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on here with you today, Wayne. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, we've been wanting to make this happen for a long time. Again, we've known each other for years now. And so I've really been looking forward to this. I know you bring incredible experience and insights. And one of the things as I met you that really impressed and honestly inspired me was a lot of your background. So do you mind sharing a little bit about your background and what led you into direct selling?
Absolutely. Happy to. So first off, I'm a guy that grew up on the other side of the track, so to speak. And that was something that was hard for me to talk about for years, but because of some of the dysfunction I grew up in, I've turned that experience and how I grew up and the situation that I was born and raised in, I've turned that into my fuel. And I think people can use things in their life. You either use them as a crutch, but I decided to become a victor, not a victim. And I decided to turn some of the pain and use it as fuel to go out and try to not only change my life, but inspire others to be able to change theirs. And part of my story is from a young age, I dove into personal development. And that's one of the things I love about this industry is the personal development piece. I always say that the direct selling space is nothing more than a personal development plan attached to a compensation plan, a rewards plan. And so I use my own personal development to go out and achieve a decent level of success. And that success and my background, I was on the picks and shovel side of the direct selling space for a number of years and selling to different companies and acting as a vendor relationship. And that led me to a friendship with a gentleman that had a lot of success in this space. A lot of people know him, Dallin Larson. And he created a large community, a large company previously. And he invited me on this journey and said, why don't we partner and go out and build a direct selling company together? I moved to Utah in October of 2016. It'll be 8 years here in 60 short days. And so I moved out to start a venture with Dallin, and we were partners for 6.5 years in that venture. That's what led me to this side of the direct selling space. And it's been an amazing 7.5, almost 8-year journey.
It's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Again, I've been fortunate to know a little bit of the story, and you've definitely turned it into fuel and had incredible success. And we do have Dallin in common. I worked for Dallin for several years. And I've learned so much from him, was a great mentor, especially in this space. Learned about leadership, learned about service from him. So if by chance Dallin's listening, a shout out to you, Dallin. Hope everything's going well. So Daniel, as you know, and anyone that's been an entrepreneur or started a company, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. So I'm curious, what really inspired you to start a direct selling company, especially in such an interesting and dynamic time for the channel?
I would say it was a factor of three things. It was number one, I just felt in my gut like it was the right time to lead and start a company to show people what's possible in this industry if it's done right. The second thing was this amazing group of leaders. I had this amazing group of leaders from our previous community, our previous company. And then I had this new group of leaders. And I thought, imagine what we could do combining these two groups and going and building an incredible platform to give people a chance for success. And then the third factor was the togetherness, the community, giving people a platform and a community and investing the time, money, and energy to go build something special. So yes, it's not for the faint of heart. I'm a big believer, though, if it's done right, it's an absolutely beautiful thing. And I've got a passion for our industry and what we're doing. So for me, it was just the timing was right. The people were right. The science and products and Dr. Dan Gubler and our science were a massive part of that decision to launch a new company. And so here we are, and I couldn't be more proud of the last 17 months.
Yeah, absolutely. You and the entire team absolutely should be. I'm curious. I mean, yes, I'd love to talk about the leadership here in just a minute. It is incredible how it seemed like so many things came together. And I think that combined with kind of that vision and passion, knowing that internally it's the right time for you to go do this certainly helps get you through, all of the inevitable bumps in the road with launching a company, all the late nights. And it is amazing what came together there. I had a little bit of maybe not a front row seat, but a back row seat and seeing some of it take shape. And it was really incredible. So I'm curious, as you launched, what were some of the key decisions and factors that made it successful? Again, as I mentioned, you're putting up some incredible numbers. You've seen great growth in under 2 years. What were some of the key decisions you made in those early days in the team that helped kind of make this a successful launch?
Another great question. So I'm a big believer. Mike Tyson had an old saying. Mike Tyson said, you can train for months on end for a fight, but when you step into a heavyweight fight in the ring, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth, right? And that's, to me, the life of an entrepreneur. Everybody's got a plan. You can write out your plan. You can then go out and figure out the execution and the strategy part of your plan. But everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth, right? And so we have our plan, we have our strategy, but are things going to go wrong? Absolutely. And for everybody out there that's watching, those are the times I think that not only characters built, but when you go through the tough days, how you come out the other side will determine the type of company you have. It's just like culture in a company. People say, well, I don't know what our culture is. Well, that's your culture. You define your culture and you set what your culture is. And if you don't have a culture, you now have a culture by default. Well, our industry is the same way. You plan and you execute. With that said, we had our plan in place, we had our execution in place, and most of it went according to plan. But were there days and weeks where there was frustration and pain points? Absolutely. We made a plan to go out and launch multiple markets day one. That's not easy. There's been many companies that are in the graveyard, so to speak, that have tried the same thing. We were able to pull it off thanks to an amazing team. I've got an amazing corporate team that have bought into the vision and what this community is about. The world didn't need just another company, but I wanted to go make an impact on people and on lives all over the world. And so it's such a beautiful thing for me to see, to be over in Hong Kong in March and to see these amazing brand ambassadors for our company that are on fire and passionate about doing one thing, and that's growing themselves as people and helping the next generation. People in North America have the same goal. And so we launched multiple countries all over the world. Were there issues? Of course. Were there logistic issues as we got going? Of course, there's going to be, but I couldn't be more proud. Again, I'll come back to the team has done such a great job. They've worked tirelessly, morning, noon, and night, and they've sacrificed a lot for our field, and our field has sacrificed a lot to be willing. Frankly, they were willing to join a startup company and willing to take a chance on a brand new company, community, platform. And so it's been humbling and been an honor on both sides, from a corporate standpoint and a field standpoint, to see this coming together. But to answer your question, there was many a days where 6 months in, 8 months in, 9 months in, we're going, what were we thinking doing this? But I got to tell you, coming out the other side of it, and we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but the other side of it, looking back on the last 17 months, it's been just an incredible experience and a lot of lessons learned from this experience.
Yeah, I love that. I want to circle back to something you said. You talked about, especially in those early days, if you're not intentional about your culture, you're going to have a culture by default. And I think so many of us end up in that boat where, we didn't maybe define things. We weren't very, thoughtful about the culture. And I also agree that, the culture is kind of built or damaged one decision at a time. And a lot of time it's almost retroactive. It's based on a decision you make, and then that helps kind of shape the culture. How did you, the corporate team and the field leaders, how did you approach kind of that culture, the purpose around the company, and helping to really define, this is what we want, these are where the guardrails are, these are lines we're not going to cross? How did you guys define that? Or was it, that one decision at a time?
Well, there's a few different ways we defined it. The first one is, and I think to a lot of people watching this will probably be pretty surprised by this, but there was a number of people that wanted to join our company at the beginning of this venture. And I said, I don't know if they'll fit well into our culture, our company. And most owners or most high-level leaders, by the way, I didn't say, hey, we don't want them. I just said, I don't know if they'll fit in here, because I wanted to build a culture by design. And so to answer your question, I think when you look at some companies, it's all navy blue suits and white shirts and ties. Now, obviously, as a society, we've become a lot more laid back and a culture of people dress different. There's more inclusion, which I love. But from a cultural standpoint, you look at how people dress, how they talk, what their expectations are. For us, I wanted a culture that everybody was welcome at. It didn't matter your background. It didn't matter your education level. It didn't matter your faith. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, if you've had a lot of success before, if you haven't had success. It doesn't matter on your race. I wanted to blend this amazing world of almost 8 billion people and say, 3 is a culture for everybody. We are a culture that we want you to go succeed. One of the things I learned about I love about the industry is you learn while you earn, right? And I wanted to make sure that we had an openness about our culture where everybody felt welcome. That was the first thing. The second thing with culture by design for me is I want to make sure our field knew that we work for them. My corporate team knows that our number one customer is our customers and our leadership. And both are incredibly important to us. And so whether you're a customer that just takes our products, it has nothing to do with the direct selling business side of things, I want to make sure that you feel loved by the company through our messaging. If you're one of our field leadership, they know that I go night and day. I go 8 to faint at this thing. I've poured my heart and soul into this, and I wanted them to know that. But that's part of setting the culture, is the expectation that the first few years, there's a heavy lift on this thing. I want you guys to know what my commitment is. That's part of our culture. And the third piece is I want people to be better people because of 3. When you look at our industry, some of the most touching stories to me are people that have gotten involved and maybe they had some success, or maybe they had a ton of success and achieved all their goals and what they wanted. But when they weren't part of that company anymore, or maybe they weren't even part of the industry, was it a positive experience? Did they grow? Are their relationships better with their spouse? Are their relationships better with their kids? Are their relationships better with their friends? Did they grow as people? Did they develop as people? Because we're in the growing people business. And so that's our cultural expectation here at 3. And again, I've watched just in a short 17 months, I've watched hundreds of people grow, and they've changed and they became better people. And Wayne, I don't think you can put a price tag on that. You can look at revenue and you can use that as a measuring stick for the success of your company or your platform. But watching people grow, to me, is priceless.
No, absolutely. I love that. And I think it says a lot, again, the willingness and understanding of trying to get the right people in, both on the corporate side and the leadership side, and the willingness to say no, to a potential leader, which we know is revenue. That's saying no to revenue, but also kind of playing the long game and doing that culture by design, I think says a lot about 3 and a lot about your leadership style. As you mentioned, some of the leaders that you met early on and have since joined 3 are amazing industry veterans that have had tremendous success, that have been, some of the top field leaders at other companies. I'm curious, what's been the impact of this group of leadership? It's obviously kind of been a bit of a magnet and attracted others. And I'm also curious after that, if we can shift into talking about, you've seen the industry, whether it was kind of, on the service side or on the inside. How is their approach different today than it was 5 or 10 years ago?
Wow, so much has changed. It's interesting because when you go to a CEO event in our industry, or you go to any of the executive functions and get-togethers, which I learn a lot from, by the way, and I really enjoy attending. When you're able to go to those, there's so often the conversation is how our industry is changing. But I think it's a bigger conversation. I think the world is changing. And I think the world is changing. It's being enlightened, so to speak. People are learning more. You've got more at your fingertips from an educational standpoint than ever before. And so I think it's not only our industry changing, I think the world is changing. But to answer your question, obviously leadership makes a difference. John Maxwell talks about everything rises and falls on leadership. Doesn't matter if it's at your home, doesn't matter if it's in your personal life, doesn't matter if it's at the company. And so obviously having leaders that have been there, done that before, and know what to do. A leader knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. And you can change those different orders, right? Because sometimes the showing the way is by example, and sometimes it's by word. And some people learn through observation, some people learn through communication. But I say that to say, obviously, having the right leadership is a game changer. It's made all the difference for us. But I would say this, one of the most inspiring things for me to have a front row seat to what's happened the last 17 months is our leaders that came on board and wanted to go launch a new company, a new community, and a new platform. One of the most inspiring things for me is they want to pass on their skill set to the next generation. It's one thing to raise your hand and say, I know what to do. I've been there, done that. Follow me. I can show you the way, Mary. I can show you the way, Bob. That's one piece of the equation. But to have leaders that are committed to say, hey, we want to go out the next 3, 4, 5 years and build this amazing platform, but we want to teach the next generation of up-and-coming entrepreneurs some skill sets and some different things and what to do and what not to do. And some of our leadership that have been in the industry 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, for them to say, we want to teach people what we learned over a 3-decade period in 3, 4, 5 years, that has been absolutely beautiful and amazing for me to be able to watch, because that's their heart and that's their intention is, hey, we're not going to be around forever. How do we pass on the knowledge that we have? How do we pass on the skills that we've learned? How do we inspire the next generation? So yes, having amazing leadership for us has been game changing. It's allowed us to have an amazing launch the last year, going on a year and a half. But the flip side of that, and what I think is even more powerful, is what is the next generation here to learn? How are they going to grow? How are we challenging them? How do we take these people that are leaders today? They weren't always leaders. They started somewhere. What are the next, few dozen stories, hundreds of stories that we could create from the next generation, Wayne?
Yeah, that next generation, or this generation that's coming in now, that's been joining the last few years, they are incredible. They're innovators. We've always had incredible leaders, for the last century in the channel, but these are different. And I guess maybe every generation is different, but they're approaching it differently. And I really feel like they're helping push us as a channel and as companies forward. A lot of times I feel like it was us kind of dragging, the field at times, or helping people kind of move through ranks. And now they're kind of showing us the way and saying, no, this is how to share the product. This is how to connect with people. And so it really is fascinating. And another dynamic, and I want to be sensitive in this question, but we know the importance of field leadership, and especially when leaders come on early in a company, we love them because they are drivers. They have strong personalities, but they also hold a lot of influence and can help direct which way a company goes. They can, help us go into markets. They can help introduce products. I'm curious how you have worked with these incredible field leaders. What's that dynamic like between the leaders and corporate and the go forward strategy?
Yeah, another great question, by the way. These are fantastic. So there's a couple things. I think whenever you're working with strong personalities, which by the way, I love, a lot of people shy away from it. I love a strong A personality. When you're working with this group of leaders, whether they've got 5 years experience or 25, 30 years, and obviously different levels of success in the industry, you're going to have challenges. I look at this industry and I look at the different personalities. One of the things that I want to do is be able to listen, and not just listen, but truly communicate and digest what the leaders are sharing. There's an old quote: if you don't listen to your leadership today, they'll find someone in the future that will. So I listen to our leadership. By the way, not all the feedback's positive. I think so often in this industry, an owner or a CEO or the C-suite team says, I don't want to hear that. We're doing everything right. Well, I don't want to hear those 3 things. I want to hear the 6 attaboys. I like hearing the 3 things they wish were different. Now, can you accommodate all of them? Of course not. You put 10 A personalities in a room, you're going to get 10 different opinions, right? But to answer your question, I love the feedback. I love working with the different personalities. I love the different insights. There's an old saying: if you hear somebody say they're the smartest person in the room, or if you hear somebody say they have all the answers, you need to look for a different room. You need to run out of that room as quick as possible. So I never sit down with our leadership and say, hey, the corporate team has all the answers. And by the way, the field never has all the answers. What we do have, which I think is amazing, is the ability to communicate and collaborate. And I think collaboration, Wayne, is such an important word in the business world moving forward. It's no longer I have all the answers or they have all the answers. It's how do we collaborate to create something special?
Yeah, I know that's been the dynamic there. Again, I know some of the leaders there; they are incredible, and talk that way about that collaboration. And also, I think it was important that you mentioned, corporate doesn't always have all the right answers. The field doesn't always have the right answers, but it's coming, together to make that decision. But also back to kind of that culture discussion, I think even kind of knowing where the line is, helping to establish these are the things we say yes to, and these are the things we say no to, because again, right out of the gate, if you start saying, yes to everything, it's easy to kind of get, dragged along instead of kind of walking the path together. So I think that's really important. You talked also about the kind of simultaneous launch of international markets, which is very brave, by the way. So I'll just say it's very brave. Launching a lot of markets at one time, we can kind of look back down the road, and it's buried, many companies because of the complexity, because of the cost, and not having the structure to really support that. But can you talk why that was so important? 2-3 strategy is, going out global from the get-go.
We're a global economy. We're a global society. Things are moving on a global basis. And so when we decided to launch, first off, I look at all people as people. I don't look at their race or their education or who they are. One of the things I love about our industry is there's not a requirement to check the box. You don't have to have an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. We accept people from all varied backgrounds, which I love. And so when we were looking at launching this platform, we thought, how do we make it a global platform where people from Asia can participate, people from North America can participate? And frankly, we had this amazing leadership team, and they were very heavily invested in the Asian markets, in Greater China, in Southeast Asia. And so part of my conversation with them was, why can't we launch a global platform all over the world? Now, we weren't going to go out and launch 30 countries or 50 countries, but we kept it, we limited the number and did it in a strategic way. But we were able to do it because of a few different things. First off, with an incredible field leadership team that already had the footprint and the presence of an amazing field leadership group. And kudos to them. They have stepped up and done an amazing job. Second thing is we've been able to do it because of an amazing corporate team, as I talked about earlier. We have an amazing COO and an amazing staff, both from an operations team, a commission structure, a marketing team, support. We've got support in multiple languages around the world, around the clock. Well, most companies you've got an 8 or 10 hour gap. We're half a dozen languages right now around the world with a support team that you don't wait on a hold for. That's a big deal in our industry as you scale up. We've got support in Southeast Asia, support out of Hong Kong and Greater China, support in North America. And so it's been multifaceted of how we've been able to do it. The decision of why we did it was because of this amazing field leadership team that had the experience, decades of experience doing it. But then it was, can we execute from a corporate standpoint, and can this marriage come together, and can we flourish together? And the answer has been a resounding yes. And I'm super bullish on what the future holds.
If you missed any part of the Spring DSU event or just want to revisit some of the speakers and topics, replays are accessible in the DSU On-Demand Library. The library is an exclusive resource for DSN supporter companies, one of many benefits designed to help keep you and your teams engaged, informed, and one step ahead. If you work at a supporter company, simply log in using your unique company code to access this event's content, plus over 250 presentations from previous educational events. If you are interested in becoming a DSN supporter, you can contact us at support@directsellingnews.com. We also invite you to join us at the Fall DSU event happening September 23rd through 25th at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas. Registration is free. Visit dsnevents.com today.
So kind of two questions here. One, can you talk a little bit about direct selling in Asia? Like what are some of the differences you're seeing? But also, I know that different leaders in different markets have different goals, different approaches. Kind of getting back to culture, how have you kind of helped keep them aligned and around that same culture, the same purpose, and kind of marching to the same drum? So again, if you can share a little bit about what you're seeing in Asia and how you kind of keep this aligned around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would come back to, first and foremost, people are people. And I know I've mentioned that over and over, but it's a core philosophy of our corporate team and this community. People all over the world want to better their lives. Again, another thing I love about our industry. But we have focused on science at being the forefront of our company. I think it was so important, and I want to lead with that because from a global standpoint, we are a science-based company. We've led with science, number one. The second thing is I wanted to show them my commitment to hold incredible events right out of the gate. Sometimes when people are launching a new platform, they don't have the capital. They don't have the understanding and the know-how to go out and hold global events. As I mentioned earlier, we held 4 global events, 2 in Asia, 2 in North America, right out of the gate. I wanted to show our Asia community and family in 3 that we're committed to what we're doing. To me, it's if you're in 3, you're part of 3. You're part of this community. And so when we were launching this global platform, it was how can we make just as big of an impact on the person in Jakarta as we'll make on the person in Hong Kong, as the person will make in New York, as the person will impact in Los Angeles. And so to me, it was truly, let's build local here in the United States while we're also building global. Build local to go global. You do that in the field, and you also do that from a corporate perspective. So that was part of our strategy in launching is how do we get the right foundation, the right footprint, the right office footprint, the right field leadership? When you're dealing in multiple languages all over the world, every single document we put out has to be translated. Every single piece of corporate communication has to be translated throughout the world, in different languages and different time zones, and again, different support structures. And so we've somehow managed to build this amazing platform, global platform. And again, I believe we're just getting started. And I believe you're going to see some amazing things here in the very near future. But it all came together starting with science and a real focus on quality and science-based products.
I want to jump to science here in 1 second. Just to kind of put a bow on international. What do you feel were maybe the most important lessons learned, good or bad, as you look back, kind of doing, launching in several markets instantly and simultaneously? What were the hard lessons? What were the good lessons?
There's been so many. I would say a couple that come right off the top of my head. Number one would be cultures are so different. I think sometimes as Americans, and I love this amazing country we're in, but sometimes we have a tendency to just look at things from our view, right? But you have to understand when you're working in other cultures, how the mindset, how the mentality, what they want is so different, right? It's we are not open in Mexico, but I would use Mexico as an example because it's so close to the United States. We border with the US. If you're out selling, if you are a company that's open in Mexico, which down the road we will be at the right time, but if you're selling the American dream to the people of Mexico, it's going to be it's not going to resonate with their culture.
Right.
They want to pay the bills today. They want to make money today. They want to know how they can buy their first car. They want to know how they can pay their rent. They don't have a dream of a mansion in the house on the hill. They just want to put food on the table for their families to survive. And so when you're looking at Asia, when you're looking at any different market, I think we have to look at the cultural differences, and you have to show respect to those differences and how you communicate, expectations, your marketing message. You can't give an American marketing message in those cultures because it'll never resonate. That's the first thing. Second lesson learned is with a global business comes around the clock expectations, right?
Right.
If you're only open in the US, Canada, and your support team's open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, and you're only speaking English, you've got a lot easier operation than having a global operation with 3PLs, with third-party logistics and shipping and a footprint all over the world. And you've got a lot to manage there, obviously. And the bigger companies that have been around for decades that are in dozens of countries, they've taken years and 10, 20, 30 years to build this footprint all over the world, which we had to build in short order. And so I say that to say, Wayne, there's been so many lessons learned. I could sit down, I feel like, and write a 50-page book of the last 17 months. But I would say be willing to adapt, be willing to learn, be willing to change, be willing to grow, but do it in a respectful way to understand that different parts of the world have different traditions, customs, expectations, and we try to be very sensitive to those things from a cultural different standpoint.
That respect is so important. And focusing kind of local, making sure there's that local support. I've heard from many friends who have been GMs and worked in other markets. Don't go into a market if you can't support it. And so I do think that is so important. And I love this idea of respect. On the kind of the product and the science side, you have kind of used science as the tip of the spear. And in some companies, they can almost overdo. They get so excited. I've been at companies, we get so excited about the science and things like that we can almost overwhelm consumers or the field with information. But you've done it in a pretty interesting way where it is kind of more accessible, more digestible. Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of bring science down to, a more approachable level for all of us that don't have PhDs?
Absolutely. So I think when you're looking at science, there's two sides of science. Number one, it's got to be credible. It's got to be real. We have that at 3. The second part is, how do you simplify it so that the average person can share with someone else what the science is? And so my message to the corporate team is, how do we keep it simple? How do we make it where anybody can share it? Maybe that's through a tool. Maybe that's through a video. Videos are a little bit challenging. I just read something recently. The average person would sit, and watch a 13-minute video. 10 years ago, it was very average to have a 13-minute video. 5 years ago, that was a 3.5-minute video. Today, 17 seconds is the average time you have on TikTok to grab somebody's attention. People are watching shorts. Even YouTube, they had to get rid of the long videos. It's like the majority of videos are shorts now because we're in a microwave society where somebody stands in front of the microwave and they said, this is a 3-minute microwave pizza. It's been 90 seconds. Why isn't this thing done yet? What's going on with my slow microwave? So we've got to simplify it. We've got to get the messaging where it's simple on all of our products so that anyone can share it, either through a TikTok, on social media, through a very short video. But to answer your question, to me, it comes back to, what is your messaging? How do you simplify your message? And the last point I would add is customers play a big role in that, because as our industry changes, as the world changes, customers are a big part of the equation. and going out and both marketing to customers, attracting customers that, again, want nothing to do with your model, but they want a quality product delivered to their house on a monthly basis. That is a big deal. That is for us, a big focus and something as we work with this core leadership team, we're also focused on how do we attract an amazing amount of raving customers that love our product. So to sum it all up, in one word, I would say simplicity. Simplicity is what we try to focus on.
I love that. And again, I do think that has been one of our challenges in the channel. I know it has been for me. Sometimes you're so close to it. You can look at an enrollment process or a customer conversion flow on your website, and it seems simple and intuitive in your mind. And then when you bring in that field or that customer perspective, you watch some kind of trip all over, bumps in the road and friction that you didn't even maybe realize. So it is important to go back and just keep things as simple as possible. And to your point on messaging, most of us should be saying just the same few things. We might say them differently. There might be different headlines and things like that, but even keeping the messaging simple is really important. And I also am guilty of the 14-minute video in my past career. But yes, there's been some amazing changes there. Can you talk a little bit more on the customer? So with this focus, I know that's something that you talk about a lot. What are some of the ways that you really kind of attract, whether it might be training from the field or from a comp plan perspective, but what are some of the things you're doing to really kind of attract and build a strong foundation of customers?
Another excellent question. So when you look at, for me, our competition, I think so many people out there look at what are we doing? Because when you're the CEO or you're a founder of a company, you're really running two companies. And most people just look at where they're at today. They look from a micro or macro level, and they look at where they're at currently, but you're really running two companies. You're running the company of where we are today, and everyone out there should be focused on where you're going tomorrow. That's the second company you're running, is where are you headed? What does the future look like? So when I look at competitors and when I talk to our leadership, both in the field and from a corporate standpoint, I think so often people look at this company, we can all name them, right? If you've been in the space for any period of time, you can name who all the competitors are. Some are small, some are startups, some are larger, some are the billion-dollar companies that have been around for decades. But to me, those are not our competitors. Our competitors, frankly, are people that are serving customers. I'll talk about the white elephant in the room, Amazon, right? Amazon does more in a quarter, when you look at their volume, more in a quarter than this amazing industry that I love all over the world. One company. And so I look at, they're a massive, massive footprint, right? They're a $1 trillion company with a T, not a B. And so I look at our competition today is not the other companies in our space, which I love and respect them. Our competition to me is when you can order products at 8 or 9 a.m. and they can be delivered in 3-4 hours on your doorstep. That's who I'm competing with. We just made a decision as a company to move one of our distribution centers to the East Coast. Why? So people on the East Coast, which is a big part of our business, can get their products a couple days quicker than they have been. So we're implementing things as a company to compete with the big A company, Amazon. Again, I respect Amazon. It's amazing what Jeff Bezos has built, but how do we market to customers? Well, a couple ways. Number one, I think this industry has always looked at a customer as how do they become part of the business eventually? Is it great if somebody says, hey, I would like to participate in your rewards plan, your opportunity? Yeah, that's great. But you know what else is amazing? I want to build a massive community with tons of customers that just want to be customers. I think we can all name a handful of amazing companies in our industry that have done that and have been customer-centric and customer-focused. So one way we do that, sorry about the long-winded answer, but I get passionate about this question. One way we do that is the way you market and message to the customers. We don't market and message to them to tell them to, hey, be a brand ambassador with 3. We allow them to be customers, and we're going to send them their product as often as they want to order it. And we're going to give them discounts on that product. And we're going to run specials and promotions at different times, whether it's a holiday, whether it's, a specific product that we want to run a promotion on, but we run promotions for our customers. So we very much just message to them as customers, not message them as they're part of a direct sales company. And the second way we attract customers is the way we message as a company. I share with our team at live events the importance of customers. We have an amazing customer program to go attract customers. We reward our brand ambassadors to get customers, but we also have things that customers can do to give a discount to other customers that just want to share with a customer, nothing to do with the direct selling side of our industry. So we market to them, we message to them, but we also let people know what a priority it is. And my goal as a community is in the future to have an amazing group of core leaders that are passionate and love what we're doing on the business side of things, that platform. But on the other side, I want a massive number of raving fan customers that, again, want nothing to do with the business side of 3, and they just want to get their products delivered to them in a convenient way on their doorstep, and they absolutely love our products. That's a big part of what I'm passionate and what we're focused on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that segmented approach is so important today. We can't speak with one megaphone anymore, with one message and expect it to resonate, not just, with the different groups here, customer, distributor, but to your point earlier, I think globally as well. You also said something I want to kind of circle back to and get some of your thoughts on kind of the industry as a whole, but you talked about running 2 companies, and I love that idea, kind of managing the company today and then planning and building the company tomorrow. And I want to kind of take that and apply it to the channel as a whole. What are you seeing today? I know you're really passionate about this, so I'm kind of teeing up a little bit of a softball for you, but what are you seeing today? What are some of the big shifts that you're seeing, and where do you see it going?
Oh, there's so many things. And yes, I'm very passionate about this question, this topic, because I think it's so important. The first thing I'd love to share with everybody, and this is just from attending the meetings, looking at some of the research, looking at the trends. You've got your data points, and then you have kind of the pulse of what's happening. You can read the data, but then it's like, okay, what are the conversations? What am I learning? Where are we headed? I'm very bullish on things. I think so often when there's an evolution taking place, people tend to curl up in a ball and say, woe is me, look at what's happening. But I'm very bullish on things. I don't think we should be in a position of fear as far as our industry goes. I think we should be in a position of those who figure it out, those who serve customers, those who make checkout easy, those who revolutionize technology in this industry that has such outdated technology overall. Our industry is very behind a lot of the DNC platforms, a lot of the other tech platforms out there. I think this is a chance for our industry to evolve and to not only have a evolution, but kind of a revolution. And so I'm very bullish on the possibilities, but you've got to be focused on how are you going to better serve? And I think the companies that win in the future, they provide customers a value-priced and value-based product, that there's a value exchange that the customer feels really good about and continues to buy your customer. I think the litmus test in the future is going to be how many people purchase your products day in and day out that want nothing to do with the business, but just love your products. That's going to be one litmus test. I think another thing that people should be focused on is the support customer service aspect. I read a thing recently, Nordstrom's used to be the gold standard. There's the Disney way, the book about Disney. Disney's always done an amazing job in customer service. Nordstrom's been the gold standards of customer service, right? Everybody knew that Nordstrom's had the best service in retail. Well, I read a thing recently saying, hey, after COVID and the changes in the world the last few years, customer service is a dying thing. I disagree loudly. I disagree. I think customer service is more important than ever. Now, sometimes that customer service, somebody didn't necessarily even interact with someone, but customer service can be how quickly your products arrive. Customer service can be how you message after a customer orders from you, how you message them, how you send them tracking, how you follow up. And so I think the future is going to be customer-centric. I think the future is going to be how you communicate with your customer. And the last piece of that and the evolution that I see taking place is the collaboration piece. I touched on it earlier of how important I believe that is. I believe, our industry used to be you were either with us or against us. Our industry used to be you're either in this company or you're the enemy. I don't think that's what the future looks like. I think the future looks like you'll have people ordering from different companies. They'll be part of a community that resonates with them. And I know this is a sensitive discussion when you're talking about this because of that us versus them mentality. But when you look at the world and the evolution that's taking place with people being more open-minded, people looking at multiple alternatives to purchasing, people are now digging into ingredients more, into science more. So the future for me in this evolution is who serves the customer best, who provides the best value from a product standpoint for the customer. And then when it comes to your field leadership, who do they resonate with the most? I think the last thing I would share is I think a big mistake our industry has made is we've launched products and owners and C-suite executives of companies have told the distributors, if you don't get behind our science, if you don't get behind this product, what is wrong with you? We have all the answers. We did all the research. We invested the money. We manufactured the products. I think the future, Wayne, and I think this is powerful, and I think there's only been a couple companies that have done this. I think the future is going to be manufacture a limited amount of products. And if your customers and your field are telling you they love it, they're going to tell it to you by buying it. And then you scale up. And then that's a product you keep. But when you look at some of the older billion-dollar companies that have hundreds of SKUs, 75 or 80 or 85% of their revenue comes from a couple dozen SKUs. The rest of them are all weighting down from an SG&A cost infrastructure on their COGS. That's not going to be the future. The future is going to be how do we come out with this product, and the market's going to tell us if they love the product or not. And that's one way I think the business is going to have not just an evolution, but a revolution. It's not going to be, we have all the answers, take these products and go market them. It's going to be, let's see what the market likes. Amazon's not attached to a product. Amazon says, we are a platform where people go to. By the way, it's the number 2 search engine in the world. I said search engine, not just website. People are going, what do you mean? When people outside of Google, Amazon's the second place people go to search. And so they're a platform that moves products. And I think our industry will be similar to that. I think we'll be getting amazing. I think 5 years from now, you'll have all these KPIs and data points showing what do our customers love? Well, here's the printout. Here's what it says they love. Let's listen to them. The last point I make, and I get long-winded on this question, but
I love this.
I'm a big fan of John Legere, and he was the former CEO of T-Mobile. He's a very outspoken revolution. He's a different guy. He wore his pink Converse every day and wore his magenta colored pink T-Mobile shirts, but he revolutionized T-Mobile. Here's a company that was in debt, that was leveraged out. He got there, he packed arenas. I mean, what other company do you see in the American corporate world where 15 and 20,000 would show up for a T-Mobile day for a company event? These are corporate employees that would show up in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile arena, and he would get on stage and he would throw out these wild concepts. But I love John Legere, and I was watching an interview recently with John Legere, who added billions in volume of market cap and value to T-Mobile and then retired. But I was watching an interview with him recently, and he's a Harvard grad. He's an Ivy League guy, but he said everything he learned came from 2 things in business. Number 1, a lemonade stand. I had one of those as a kid. I delivered newspaper, mowed lawn, did lemonades. That's what we did back in the 80s and 90s, right? But from that generation, I'd throw the newspaper at the door, and hopefully it wasn't a metal screen door, because if you hit the metal screen door, we all remember those days.
I remember.
Anyways, John Legere in this interview recently said, I learned everything I need to know from 2 areas. Number 1, running my lemonade stand in 5th grade. He taught me everything. He says, that taught me everything I need to know. He says, the second place is shut up and listen to your customers. He says, all I did to revolutionize T-Mobile is listen to what my customers wanted. And I take that same approach here at 3. I think we as a direct selling space need to take that same approach. Is we need to listen to the feedback of what they want. I try to do that. I'm not perfect in that, but I try to do that on a daily basis. And so as we move forward, I think that's part of what's going to revolutionize and this industry, both from an evolution and revolution standpoint, is listening to what people actually want from us as the company that provides that. And
I love that. I love that. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's the perfect idea to end on today, Daniel. You've been super gracious with your time. Thank you for giving us insights into what's happening today, how to successfully start and launch a company. And I loved the kind of themes and ideas around simplicity, around culture by design, collaboration and co-creation with the field and the customers, things we can all do that we know is going to lead to greater success. So we're excited to keep watching 3. Good luck with everything there. Please give our best to everybody. Tell Troy, Wendy, Barkle, everybody back at the home office we said hi.
I will. Thank you, Wayne, again for having me on. Hi to everybody out there. And it was an honor to be with you guys today.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you for being such an amazing champion for the channel. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a moment to subscribe and give a 5-star rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide more candid insights and interviews for direct selling corporate executives. And don't forget to register for the fall DSU at dsnevents.com. Secure your spot now. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.